Kyron on every newscast, printing his story in the papers, his face would not be known to everyone. People from around the nation have seen his picture. This helps tremendously. Please help us bring Kyron home.
Heartbreaking frustration builds tonight for the family of 7-year-old Kyron Horman. He has been missing for nearly 3 weeks. Cops still want to know, did anyone see his stepmom drop him off at school the morning he vanished? And now a new, disturbing clue and a family secret exposed. An uncle in jail for child molestation. Kyron disappeared June 4th. His stepmom, Terry Horman, says she took him to school early for a science fair and watched him walk the class. But his teacher says he never showed up. Kyron's stepmom says she took this photo that very morning of Kyron in front of his science exhibit. But after reviewing cell phone records, Terry Horman was given a second polygraph by authorities, and cops still want to hear from anyone who might have seen her on the morning of June 4th.
They, along with Kyron's family, are asking the community's assistance regarding anyone who saw not only Kyron, but also who may have seen Terry Horman, his stepmother, and or the truck that she was driving, the family truck that she was driving that morning.
Kyron's stepmom took other pictures at the science fair and posted them on Facebook. And you can see people in the background. You know, this says to me somebody must have seen something. Please come forward if you know anything, even if you don't think it's significant. It could help. Call me, 1-877-JVM-SAYS. That's 1-877-586-7297. Straight out to my fantastic expert panel, criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen, HLN law enforcement analyst Mike Brooks back with us, and we begin with investigative reporter Michelle Sagona, who's been tracking this case. Michelle, what is the very latest?
At this particular point, Jane, investigators are still reviewing all of those questionnaires that were turned in on Sunday night at the school. Investigators passed out those questionnaires on Friday, asked for parents, students, and staff to fill out those questions and to turn them in. So right now, those are still being sorted through, sifted for information. In addition, I spoke with Matt Shelby again from the school district where Kyron went missing. And he says, because there has been some speculation that that particular photo that you just had on your screen was photoshopped, and he said that there's no reason not to believe that Kyron was in fact standing in front of his science fair project that morning. His teacher that morning and another staff member did in fact see Terry Moulton and also Kyron inside of the school. What happened after that, that's the mystery. The school was open between 8 a.m. and 8:45 a.m., open to the public. There are 5 main entrances, 2 of which were unlocked. You were able to go through the entire school that particular morning into each classroom. Kyron's project was in the classroom that he attended each day with 25 other students, or 26 students total in his classroom. On most normal days, he did in fact take the bus, but that morning, Terry did in fact drive him so he could attend the science.
Okay, I have to ask you a quick question. Obviously,
Sure.
a search of her computer would settle all these unfounded rumors about whether or not she photoshopped something to put that man in the back of the picture. We'll show you. We couldn't actually show you the picture, but we can show you what we kind of drew out as an outline of a man in the back of a picture. We'll show it to you in a second. They're pulling it up. Have cops searched her computer to find out whether or not she was doing any Photoshop work on that computer? And did they also determine when she posted the photo that you're seeing here at 1:21 p.m., you know, what else had she been doing on that computer?
You're exactly right. Well, this is something, and a lot of these questions as far as the cell phone, reaching out to the island about 10 miles away from the school, as far as Terry's computer, as far as any other background information, these are things that investigators will not comment on, the family will not comment on, and that they're continuing to collect information. There are reports, as you and I know, that she did in fact take Terry, that is, a second polygraph test. And also, as both of us know, that polygraphs are only used as an investigative tool to point investigators in one direction or another, and there's really no way to tell if someone's being misleading or if they're holding back information. So of course, I'm sure that investigators are working on this. There's 98 deputies that are active on this case and have been since day one.
But the bottom line is you don't know if they searched your computer or they haven't or they have.
They won't say.
They won't say. But I mean, did they execute search warrants? They would probably have to, unless she allowed them in, they would have to execute search warrants to search that computer.
They would obviously have to.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So we don't have any public record of search warrants being executed. Well, I think they should check her computer. That's for sure, right, Mike Brooks? I mean,
absolutely.
They should, yeah.
But, you know, in this case, they've been holding things so close to the vest in this particular case, Jane.
Which is smart.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, as an investigator, if I was in this case, I wouldn't want anything getting out, especially when they're asking for this. But it's important to go ahead and eliminate the people who are closest to Kyron, and that would be Terry Horman. But you know, with the two polygraphs, okay, when you give an initial polygraph, and again, the polygraph is only as good as the examiner who's giving it. Was she deceptive? Was it inconclusive? Or did they want to ask her some additional questions in the second polygraph? These are all questions that we just don't know.
I want to go to Bradford Cohen. You have expertise in handling cases that involve photos that may or may not have been doctored. And let's put up that photo once again. Again, this isn't the actual photo. We did not show it to you for legal reasons because, see that little picture in the corner of a man? There's an actual face on the actual picture, and we have no idea who that person is or whether they may be involved or not. So what do you think cops need to do with this photo to examine whether or not it was doctored?
Well, in terms of examining the photo, there's experts and we've employed them before that actually examine the photo to look for different signs of whether or not Photoshop was used. We can look for shadowing and background and things of that nature. And really, you would have to be an expert to even come close to fooling an expert on photos. And I would doubt very highly that she has that kind of capability or that kind of skill to really be able to determine, using Photoshop, and determine whether or not this is a phony photo or a real photo. There's no way she would have that expertise. I think that it would be very easy to tell whether or not this photo was been doctored by an expert. That being said, obviously they would want her computer as well, and it seems like she's being cooperative. So if she's being cooperative, they wouldn't need a subpoena. They could probably ask her for the computer, and she may give it up.
Okay, another big development today. Kyron.
Just so that you, for everybody that's viewing this, if you're not aware, as you look at the picture of Kyron in front of his science project, you will notice that looking at him, it would be his left arm that is just not there at all. Some are speculating that he put his arm behind his back, but in a lot of the photos that have been shown of Kyron, he always had both of his arms down. So this is one of the things that they're looking at, that it's possible that it was photoshopped. And also behind Kyron, all the way down the little hallway or walkway, there's a little girl and there is a man in a plaid shirt. I'm wondering if they contacted him. I don't recall seeing a person that Jane has circled, but I didn't look at all the photos. But the key one here is there is no left arm at all there. And there is a photo of the science project, which behind him there's a card standing up. If I can find that photo, I'll post it.
From Seattle is behind bars on charges of third-degree molestation for an incident that occurred in 2008. Cops say 32-year-old Kyron Horman, you're looking at there, was in bed with two underage children, but cops insist Kyron was not one of those children. Kyron Horman was actually arrested and convicted 1 week ago today in a bench trial, and Horman claims he was abused. The man who was convicted claims he was abused once, years ago, by a male relative. He also reportedly lives 3 hours away from Kyron. So I think, Michelle Segoda, the big question is, where was this guy on the day of little Kyron Horman's disappearance? He had not yet been arrested.
No, he was not arrested at that time, and that's another thing that investigators were looking into, but they don't feel possibly that there's any connection between that case and also the St. Helens case of where a child was almost abducted about a few days after Kyron went missing, about 20 minutes away in the St. Helens area, and I spoke to that police chief, and he still feels that there is not a particular connection between that case, but these are all directions that investigators are still looking at, and they're still searching that island along with the surveillance.
Megan, Pennsylvania, your question or thought?